Thank you all for coming. With the climate summit taking place in Paris this week, I thought it would be appropriate to meet here. This lovely monument was built to commemorate the centenary of the French Revolution. Today, it's a beautiful and iconic structure. It was built as the economic, political, and social implications of the first industrial revolution were unfolding across the nation, as well as across Europe and North America. This revolution has been powered by the burning of coal and later oil and gas. Unfortunately, over the past 2 centuries, burning fossil fuels has resulted in climate change. We see the signs everywhere. In 2024, we burned more fossil fuels than at any previous point in history. So it comes as no surprise that it was the hottest year ever recorded. In the Paris Accords of 2015, the world agreed to a legally binding limit of global warming. Nevertheless, the average temperature across our planet last year was more than 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. The frequency and devastation from extreme weather events rise dramatically as the average temperature increases. It's very frightening. Droughts, floods, and wildfires all become more frequent, deadly, and destructive. We see the signs everywhere.
Sadly, America has abandoned its leadership in many areas, including climate. It has turned from chief climate advocate to chief antagonist. As we speak, America is pressing the European Union and other nations to defund solar and wind energy investments. Europe is heating at twice the rate as the rest of the planet, so this is a very alarming demand. Leaders are very worried. At the same time, the government from across the Atlantic is pressing Europe to increase fossil fuel purchases from its energy company. Deaths from excessive heat are the leading weather-related hazard there, and in many other parts of the world, so we are perplexed by their actions.
Climate change. Everyone is talking about climate change. But is it real? Many in America are raising this question. I've read on social media that climate change is a natural phenomenon. It happens periodically, and we can't do anything about it.
A film someone sent me claimed that humans are not responsible. I'm also uncertain whether things I've been reading on social media are accurate.
What you're saying is partially correct. But it's also very deceptive. It will require some explanation.
We know from the scientific evidence that climate change does occur in the natural world. This had been studied comprehensively. So how can we be sure that this time the climate change we're experiencing is really our fault?
It's a man-made climate change. Does anyone know the answer?
Is it because of the rate of climate change we're currently experiencing? It does seem to be unfolding very rapidly. It's correct. When climate change occurs as a result of natural phenomena, such as celestial forces, it takes a very long time to unfold. Speaking in terms of tens of thousands or even 100,000 years. But climate change today is unfolding over just decades. It began with the Industrial Revolution in the mid-19th century and has continued to get worse ever since.
In terms of celestial forces, we know that the Earth rotates on its axis and that this axis is tilted between 22 to 25 degrees. This variance occurs over a period of about 41,000 years. It's called obliquity. As the Earth then rotates about the Sun, the shape of the rotation will vary from a more circular to a more elliptical pattern. This variance occurs over a period of 100,000 years, a very long time, and it's called eccentricity. Depending upon the distance, in an elliptical orbit, the angle of the sun's rays will heat the Earth to a different degree. During long summer months, the northern hemisphere receives more sunlight since it's closer to the sun. In the winter months, it receives less. However, over many millennia, the tilt of the Earth's axis can vary by a few degrees, and the gravitational pull of Jupiter can extend Earth's orbit. Celestial phenomena can enable climate change. However, we are certain this is certainly not the cause of climate change today. We know this because we can measure carbon emissions, and we've confirmed that they are causing the warming of our planet.
Our family had a small restaurant in Jakarta. It was near the beachfront and was popular with locals and tourists.
My parents did quite well, so my siblings and I went to good secondary schools, and when it came time for university, we studied in Europe.
We had a wonderful childhood together. I can remember playing on the beach for endless hours with my siblings in the 1990s.
Unfortunately, Jakarta is now sinking due to subsidence. The sea level continues to rise.
The city sits near sea level, so there's considerable flooding these days. Our family restaurant was destroyed in a storm about 10 years ago. The sea surged in and washed our restaurant away, so my family was left with nothing. My parents live with us now, and we take care of them.
Unfortunately, many of our neighbors weren't so lucky. They were already struggling, but now their businesses have also been ruined. Surprisingly, the government is leaving Jakarta and building a new capital city. Jakarta is now sinking faster than any other city in the world. Sadly, climate change and subsidence are making Jakarta unlivable. Property values are collapsing, and insuring them has become difficult. Today, Jakarta is home to 12 million people, so this has turned into a disaster.
As you can imagine, most residents lack the means to resettle their families. So climate change has affected our community severely.
I'm terribly sorry to hear this. I'm sure some residents of Jakarta will manage, but countless millions will suffer from the problems you're describing. Awful problem. Since these are large metropolitan areas and they're near sea level, tens of millions of families will likely be affected. As one would expect, resource extraction is the cause of subsidence. It's a widespread problem, with New York, Shanghai, and others also suffering.
Subsidence occurs when we extract resources from deep underground. Often, this refers to the ancient waters in subterranean aquifers.
This is very difficult for me to see. These are my people. I'm sorry.
My family is settled here in Paris. I was born in Pakistan, and much of my extended family still lives there.
When I was at university in Paris 22 years ago, a terrible heat wave spread across Europe. 3,400 people died in Paris alone. My flatmate at the time fell victim to the heat. She was so young and full of life. She had such a bright future ahead.
She was an asthmatic, so breathing in those conditions was difficult for her. It was a shock for me because I never expected such heat here.
In Pakistan, we do experience a lot of heat. I remember in 2015, there was a terrible heat wave in my hometown of Karachi. My father used to manage fruit and vegetable stands, so his business was outside, where many people would shop on their way home. The heat wave was very bad that year. The wet bulb temperature made it impossible to cool down, so he collapsed near one of his stands. My mother became a widow, and my father's business was gone. 1,200 people died in that heat wave. In 2022, there were terrible floods in Pakistan caused by melting glaciers and a severe monsoon season. The damage was in the billions. My relatives lost their crops, and many villagers were washed away. Their bodies were never recovered. In the current monsoons, 1,000 villagers have already perished. It might be the worst flooding Pakistan has ever experienced. But I think people across the Atlantic haven't been so impacted, so their government isn't leading as they should. It's a tragedy for all of us because historically, when they do lead, others will follow.
These are heartbreaking stories, and I'm afraid there will be more.
When the combination of temperature and humidity crosses a threshold, our bodies are no longer able to cool down through perspiration.
And being in the shade doesn't help. Many who died in Karachi or in Paris a decade earlier suffered heat strokes due to high wet bulb temperatures.
Normally, such an event would occur once in a century. But because of climate change, extreme weather events are occurring every few years.
And the more the planet warms, the greater the risk from floods, fires, heat waves, and hurricanes, all occurring with great frequency and severity. If we plant large numbers of trees, it can help enormously. Trees can dramatically reduce temperatures, and the difference is quite remarkable. We've observed dramatic temperature variations between adjacent communities in which one has many trees and the other has very few. If we don't now accept that climate change is caused by the burning of fossil fuels, then danger, destruction, and suffering will only accelerate. We must recognize the need for global cooperation in planning a transition to solar, wind, and other sustainable sources of energy. These stories will impact many more of our cities. This will lead to mass migrations as people attempt to move to more temperate climates. You all must become advocates. We cannot leave these matters hoping that someone else will pick them up or that they'll sort themselves out. We must be realists and we must be proactive. And now, let us enjoy our dinner and this magnificent view of the City of Lights.